So hello everybody, my name is Lars Lindner. I'm a scientist and researcher at the Engineering Institute of the Autonomous University of Baja California, located in the north part of Mexico on the border to USA. Together with my colleague Dr. Oleg Sergienko and Sergio Sepulveda, we prepared a little short presentation about new applications and trends of UEVs and robotics in agriculture, and I will give a little short presentation about this topic. So what is agriculture? Agriculture is and has always been an integral part of the human survival and culture, of course. It is defined as the targeted production of plants or animal products on an area cultivated for this purpose. Agriculture is one of the oldest economic sectors of mankind, and about today, like a third of the Earth's land area is currently used for agriculture. What are unmanned aerial vehicles? On the other side, as an acronym, UEV. It is an aircraft that can be operated and navigated independently by a computer or from the ground via a remote control without a crew on board. Unmanned remote-controlled missiles, for example, have been used for a variety of purposes since the early 20th century, so we are using them since a lot of time. Due to the rapid progress of integrated electronics and miniaturizing, UEVs have found a wide field of application in industry and research today. A relatively new field of application of the UEVs is the agriculture, what I want to talk about right now, where UEVs are supposed to perform different tasks. The UEVs are equipped with various sensors to support the execution of these tasks. The sensor range from lasers and cameras over to LiDAR scanners in order to capture the environments as best as possible and under various physical aspects. So here right now we can see a first example of laser scanning in agriculture, where the height of plants are scanned using a curtain of laser scanners. For example, a curtain of laser is used to measure the size of a line of plants. Every laser beam is in a known height. When a beam is interrupted, the measure is saved in the data matrix, forming a measuring crop. So we can see a little schematics of the measuring method. We have different laser beams aligned in a row. So when some measure beams got interrupted by the plants, we know there is something, an object or a plant or something. So we can make a whole scan of one row of the field and determine the height of every single plant. Another usage are LiDAR scanner, which can be used also in agriculture together with mobile robotics, like in this example. We have a mobile robotics with 4 wheels who can independently move over the fields of crops, and using the LiDAR it can generate a precise 3D point model that gives the position and the height of every plant. So we can not only measure the height, we can also measure the distance, the separation between the plants, and using another method I will present on the end of this presentation, we can also measure the health of the plant. So here we have an example how we can measure the 3D coordinates of little plants. Also, we can use laser scanning technology to classify and cropping. Using laser beams with different wavelength is possible to do a spectral analysis to discriminate plants and weed in the fields, which means by the frequency response of the refracted laser beam, we can determine different physical conditions about the crops. Here we have another example how we can use the implementation of this laser scanning system. We have a frame inside we have a laser system who takes a line scan over the field, and by the reflected laser beam and the spectral analysis we can determine health conditions, light conditions, and more conditions about the scanning plans. Another application can be determined by using a mobile autonomous system like a tractor who can drive independently. In Germany, for example, right now they are using autonomous tractor system who are using GPS systems to orient in a field, combined, like you see in this picture, with LiDAR scanners, for example, from the company SIG, and you can detect obstacles in front in the field of view of the tractor system. So the tractor can autonomously detect if there is a stone or a person or some animal to avoid a collision with these objects. Another application would be of LiDAR scanner together with also mobile robot system in vineyards. A LiDAR can help to create an inside row guidance system of robots operating in vineyards. By detecting the differences between the crops on the vineyard, the ground robot can travel across the entire field without damaging them, because you know vineyards are very sensible plants. Some collision would lower the quality and maybe crash the tiny berries. So it is very important that the robots don't hit with some plants. So it's using also LiDAR system to navigate between the rows of the vineyards. Another example of stationary robots and laser scanning system would be segmentation of plants. Segment plant image in the composite surface patches. By analysis of the infrared intensity, image is done with the information provided by a time of flight camera, a camera who is measuring the depth, the distance to an object using the time of flight method, with quadratic surface fitting using TOF depth data. Here we have another example of research we found on the internet, who was using on a stationary robot arm who can detect different type of plants and can segment them using the information from TOF camera. Another example, what also is more similar to what I want to present on the final part, is the discrimination of plants that are based on the calculation of different normalized difference vegetation indices. A proximal spectral reflectance-based sensor is used. Two light sources illuminate the plant surface, and the received signal is used to calculate the differences and categorize the crop. Here's another example we found with a mobile tractor system. Sorry. Using some spraying units to discriminate to the plants using an imager and a controller. So by different reflection indices, like the normalized vegetative index is talking about the health of is defining the health of the plant. So by using the elimination reflectance of the leaf, we can determine the health of the plant. This is our system. What I know more about than the other kind, because our research we found on a fast search. These are actually technical vision systems. What we are seeing here in this picture. It is mainly developed since my PhD work here at the institute, together with my PhD father, Dr. Alec. It is the prototype number 3, and it uses DC motors, mainly 1 to 3 DC motors to position the laser in a certain field of view, and another DC motor for the scanning aperture, to implement a certain measuring method to measure the received laser angle. So this system is comprised of being a single sensor, high speed and low cost laser scanning system. So by using triangulation, the 3D coordinates of any reflected point can be determined, right? Triangulation in general consists in division and measuring an area by triangles, which form a mesh and where angles and distance are calculated using trigonometric functions. So you can see here a schematic of one plane of the XY scanning plane of the system, where here we have the positioning laser, which is aiming the laser on an obstacle surface, which we want to detect in front of the laser scanning system. It gets reflected, total or diffuse. Mostly it gets diffuse reflected, received by the scanning aperture. We're implementing a certain measuring method using pulse counting. And by pulse counting, we can determine this angle B. The C angle we know already because we are controlling the angle of this DC motor, which is rotating the laser scanning. So by using the angle CB and the fixed distance A, and using these equations, we can determine exactly the 3D of 2D coordinates of this reflected point. So we are not only approximating this point by using cameras, we are physically made a scan or doing a scan about the objects. So my proposal also is to use this laser scanning system for detecting the normalized difference vegetation index, NDVI. The normalized difference vegetation index is strongly related to the vitality and thereby density of vegetation under observation. It means healthy plants contain more chlorophyll in their leaves than stressed plants. The higher amount of chlorophyll reflects more light in the infrared than in the visible spectrum. So by using the relation between both, the NVDI can be calculated. It means when we are sending a laser beam on a healthy leaf, it reflects more energy in the infrared spectrum and less in the visible spectrum, and vice versa. If we have a stressed leaf, which has a brown color, less chlorophyll, it reflects less in the infrared field and more in the visible field. So by the relation between both values, we can detect this, we can define this NDVI index. And using this NDVI index, we can detect the health of the plant. So our proposed, which we already published on IC in Italy, 2016, if I remember right. I was talking about the implementation of this laser scanning system, which is already smaller than the prototypes before. We can implement it, install it on an UEV in front of this drone, or also in a mobile robot system, depends on the specifications. And we can detect the health of plants by using the NVDI index. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you received something new, you saw some new ideas. If anybody wants to contact us later, we are open for discussions or open for maybe a collaboration. So thank you, everybody, and have a nice day. Goodbye.